right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. So one thing I have never done with the C70, and I've had it for basically a year, is do macro videography. So we're going to try it out today. Let's get into it. All right, everybody. So as you can tell from the title and my intro, we're going to talk about macro videography with the C70, and I'm going to be trying out the RF 35mm f1.8 macro and the EF f2.8 100mm macro on the C70. Now, one thing that I had to figure out was what would be a good macro subject that everybody can kind of relate to. So I decided just to pick a watch and see how good these two lenses do with the C70 and macro videography. So we're going to do some shots, forward, backwards, 3500mm, and just see how good it looks and is it legible and can we read really small fine print on this particular watch, which is a hallmark of macro videography. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the shots. All right, everybody. So here we are on the RF 35mm f1.8 macro lens, and we're on the C70, and I'm taking a look at a watch, of course, because I want to see how the macro capability does. So we're looking at a Dekla Flieger 42 Type B old radium type watch. Now, obviously, this is a replica. It's not from World War II. And it's the old radium lume that's on this watch. That's why it looks that way, because when you had the old radioactive radium on this watch to give it that luminosity, this is what it looked like. So it's kind of a replica. And this is a 42mm watch. 11.2 watch height. The lug width is 22 millimeters. Lug to lug is 49.8 millimeters. The weight, which is the head only without the watch strap or band or bracelet, whatever you have it on, is 87 grams. We have 100 meters of water resistance. And of course, the case finish is matte. And the case metal is what we call hardened 6 steel, which is a special steel from Dekla that's fantastic. They actually did a demo with a razor blade going across their watch cases and nothing happened. So very cool. The dial color, of course, is black. This is a manual mechanical watch with a Soletta SW200-1 hand-wound movement. So that's to take a look at the front of the watch. And you can tell this is a Flieger Type B because the minutes are on the outside and the hours are on the inside. And that's because if you were a navigator, the minutes were more important in aeronautics than anything else for like bombing runs or, mission times and things like that. So if you notice, there are flame blued hands that are made in-house as well. The majority of this watch is made by Dekla in-house, which I absolutely love. Obviously, the movement is not, but like the watch dial, the case, the hands, all that is made in-house, which I love. And the old radium Super Luminova is on the hands, the markers, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and it glows green. We'll show you that here in a second. And it has a sapphire crystal with an interior anti-reflective coating. All right, so that's the top side of the watch. All right, here's the back side of the watch, and this is a real test for the C70 and a macro lens because we should be able to read this, which we can. And if you notice, this is a Flieger FL23883, and what that means is, forgive me, my German friends, but I'm going to screw this up. Fliegnummer for FL, and it's meant to be affiliated with aviation equipment. 23 is meant that it was a navigational device, and 883 confirmed that the watch was tested by a research institute. I'm not even going to pretend to be able to pronounce this. So it's just the German Testing Research Institute. So forgive me, I just don't want to butcher it. So this is the Dekla Flieger Type B 42 old radium. All right, everybody. So here is the same watch on the EF 100 millimeter macro. So this is at f2.8, and this is the EF version of the 100 millimeter macro on the C70. So let's see what this looks like on the C70. So far, so good. Looks very nice, very clear. So let's flip it over and see if we can read the writing on the back of the watch. So this to me is the most important part of macro photography or videography. Is everything legible and can you read it? And it is nice and clear and bright. So, you know, kudos to the C70 and the EF macro lens, 100 millimeter macro lens. I do have an EF to RF adapter on here. So that was the other thing I wanted to try is, will this lens work good or well with an adapter? And it definitely does. So kudos to Canon and their EF lenses and their RF lenses. Man, this thing is just all around fantastic. So let's go ahead and get out of this. All right, everybody. So another test I wanted to do, because I'm doing a watch, is I want to put it on a Timegrapher and see how the RF35 does on a Timegrapher. And if you notice, it does excellent. And by the way, this is an excellent watch. I mean, come on, plus or minus 1 second a day, 0.2 millisecond beat error. Yeah, this is a really good watch, especially for the price point. Oh, and by the way, since this is a Soletta SW201 hand wound movement, the lift angle is set to 50. That's the normal for this type of movement. So just another great test of the C70 and a macro RF 35 millimeter lens. Pretty cool, works great, can see the Timegrapher just fine. So let's go ahead and get out of this. All right, everybody. So what do you think of these two lenses, the RF 35 and the EF 100 for macro and the C70? Personally, I thought they both did fantastic, especially the EF, because I was a little bit hesitant with the adapter on it. No problems whatsoever. The C70 handled it great. You know, the RF 35 is a great little lens, especially for the price point. And the EF 100 macro is definitely a good bargain now that the RF version is out. So I have no plans on upgrading the EF 100 to an RF because it's just a fantastic lens and no real reason for me to upgrade besides to get a little bit tiny bit of sharpness, you know, or maybe the spherical aberration correction you can do. I'll stick with what I have and save some money. So hopefully you learned a little bit, or at least found this entertaining. I appreciate everybody for watching and for listening. I greatly appreciate it. Have a great day or night, everybody. Happy shooting. Thank you. Bye.